I don't consider myself to be a person of above average intelligence or having an above average ability to articulate what goes on in my mind. But I do at times find myself thinking about things that I wonder if other people think about as well. So I guess part of why I want to post this video is because just one, to get it out, and two, to see if I'm the only person thinking this way. I don't have a college degree. I'm not particularly certified in any field that's lending itself to my ability to think on a higher level than your average human being. I really consider myself to be average across the board. But like I said, there are times when, you know, I think maybe I'm crazy, or maybe there are other people out there that think the same as I do. A couple things that kill me is there are questions out there that people will ask you, and I think that sometimes they ask you these questions just as a means of confusing you, or as a means of stalling the conversation when you are talking to them and they find themselves unable to process what it is that you've said, or the direction that the conversation is going. A lot of times you'll hear people say, well, I'm a glass half full person. No one says they're a glass half empty person. Come on, let's be real with ourselves. But people will say, well, I'm a glass half full person. And they do that to imply that they're, in some manner, not a negative individual, they're a positive individual. And to me, that sounds very much like a politician using a buzz phrase to get themselves out of having to answer a serious question. Because to me, I'm not a glass half full person. I'm also not a glass half empty person. I'm the type of person that says, well, if you were pouring something into the glass, then the glass is halfway full. If you were drinking from the glass is half empty. And that makes sense to me. What makes sense to a scientist, though, is that air has mass, therefore, unless in a vacuum, the glass is always full. Which is technically correct, which is, scientifically speaking, it's a matter of fact. So, you know, there is an answer to that dumbass question of, is the glass half full or is the glass half empty? And a lot of people say, well, what if you just come upon the glass, you don't know if someone was drinking from it or filling it? Well, if you see a half moon smudge shape on the lip of the glass, someone was drinking from it. If you don't see that, someone was pouring into it. You know, that's just logical to me. It's also logical to me to say that a woodchuck would chuck as much wood as a woodchuck could chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood. That's also one of those questions that, duh, to me. Also, you know, they want to say, oh, well, which came first, the chicken or the egg? And they use that as a divination of, okay, we've hit a point in the conversation where we're not agreeing and you're not seeing my point of view, so I'm going to say something existential or seemingly existential in order to win this argument and back away from it safely. The egg came first. Chickens evolved from something else. And that something else that they evolved from was laying eggs before the chicken evolved, before it evolved into what a chicken is today. So the egg came first, number one. A woodchuck would chuck as much wood as a woodchuck could chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood, number two. And if you were pouring into the glass, it's half full. If you're drinking from it, the glass is half empty. So stop with the stupid questions, or stop with the stupid statements, seemingly existential statements. What I would like to cover, and I'm sure everybody's thought about that on one level or another, but what I would like to talk about, and it's more serious, I guess, than seemingly existential questions, is why racism? Why does racism exist? What is racism? And like I said before, I don't have a college degree. This is not something I've done research on and based. I don't have something I can refer you back to say, okay, this is why racism exists. So this is all just my philosophy. Not that jackass red pill philosophy bullshit. This is just my philosophy. Racism is evolutionary baggage. At one point in our evolution to being Homo sapiens, it was auspicious of us. It was beneficial to us to be able to make snap judgments based strictly on first sight, based strictly on what we saw in front of us, what presented themselves in front of us without doing any further investigation into it. Before we were farmers, we were hunter-gatherers. It was important to us to be able to recognize when a fruit was at its peak of ripeness. And because if you picked the fruit before it was fully ripe, you were marginalizing the nutritional value of that fruit. So it was marginalizing your intake of nutritional value. If you picked the fruit too late, spoilage could occur and possible sickness or illness could happen, and that would marginalize the productivity and the viability of your particular tribal group. So it was important for us to be able to make snap judgments about things. And not just about fruit, but also about other groups that didn't look like us. Think about if we were sitting out, if we were hunting, foraging through a certain area that was particularly fertile, and you saw another group of people that didn't resemble you approaching, it was important to be able to look at them and ascertain whether or not fighting them or fleeing from them was the right thing to do. Because if you did flee, you ran the risk of losing that fertile foraging, hunting territories. And if you were to lose that, that would marginalize the viability of your particular tribal group. Now, if you did stay and fight, if you assessed that staying and fighting was the appropriate thing to do, and you went ahead and did so, and you were injured or another member of your tribal group was injured in doing so, that marginalized the viability of your tribal group. So it was important to be able to make these judgments quickly, concisely, and directly in order to maximize the future of your tribal group. And today we still see ourselves suffering from this evolutionary baggage where we don't necessarily, we don't need it anymore. Racism is not something that we still have a necessity for, but it's evolutionary baggage. At one time it was so necessary that it was something that we could not avoid. It was a necessary trait. It was at times a matter of life and death to be able to rely on your racism. But yet here we are in 2015, October of 2015, and we still find people killing other people or institutionally disregarding other people because they don't look like you, because they don't resemble you. And to some people it's a badge of honor. To some people it's almost like, well, my pappy did it, so I'm gonna do it. To some people it's like, well, I can't trust the system, so I need to maintain this level of distrust in the form of racism towards all people who look like the people that I think are cheating me. And it's 2015, and we still have people conducting themselves in this manner. And it's maybe I'm crazy. Like I said, there's no research to back up what I'm saying. This is all my philosophy. This is all just what I think about. And I wonder, is there anybody else out there that thinks this way? Am I retarded? And I don't mean to use that term to disparage anyone who isn't mainstream or average. It's because I consider myself very average and at times a little bit retarded. I do dumb things a lot. This video might even be one of them. I might get torched just for saying the things I've said. But, you know, I really don't care, because the purpose of it is just to find out whether or not there are other people out there who do consider things on the same level that I do. And, shit. Excuse the language, but, you know, let me know what you think. There's gotta be somebody out there that has an answer to it. I mean, hopefully by me putting this out there, someone who is more educated, someone who has done the research on this, someone with an anthropological background, maybe can come and clear the air for it. I don't know, but it's, I mean, if you want to do away with something, start a conversation about it. Let's discuss things. It's not so unheard of that humans can agree to disagree, but it's also not so unheard of that you can disagree with someone during a conversation and leave that conversation with them and carry what they've said along with you and process it and digest it and see if it in some manner is logical and has a basis of reason to you. And I mean, I'm not smart enough to figure this out on my own. So I'm kind of depending on anybody out there who does have a deeper understanding than I do. I mean, I try to think about things. I mean, I try to come up with the answers to dumb questions like, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck? I try to come up with answers as, is the glass half full, is the glass half empty? I try to come up with answers of which came first, the chicken or the egg. I try to consider those things on a deeper level other than a pseudo-intellectual, pseudo-existential fashion. You know, it's something I'm hoping that somebody out there can help me with, or help all of us with. Maybe I'm just an idiot, and maybe all this is just me, but damn, hey, here you go.